I will. Hi, good evening. Welcome to this session on depression and the state of mental health in India. It's extremely important that we talk about this issue today, keeping in mind that depression and bad mental health have been ignored over the ages for various reasons. We do not talk about mental health as much as you talk about other health disorders or issues. And it's shocking to know that close to 300 million people in the world suffer because of depression or other such associated mental disorders. And according to the World Health Organization, of course, very maligned organization as of today, India is the most depressed nation on earth. And it also has a very dubious distinction of being among the top 3 countries to be worst affected by anxiety, schizophrenia, and of course, bipolar disorder. And the situation in India is such that the focus on mental health is patchy at best. And this can be reflected very easily and very clearly in the downsizing of the allocation of funds for mental health from 50 crores in the year 2018-19 to roughly 40 crores in 2019-2020. And this at a time when there are roughly 200,000 people, approximately, who committed suicide in 2019. And among these, of course, were close to 28 students committing suicide every single day. And therefore, it's a depletion of our, of course, amazing resource in terms of student well-being lost. And with COVID-19, we are at the precipice of seeing a situation even worsening as people are losing jobs and economic depression setting in, and with the incomes becoming smaller and smaller, depression obviously is looming large. It is with this backdrop that this conversation takes place with 4 of India's leading mental health disorder specialists. And to start our discussions today, we are very pleased to be joined by Paramjeet Singh, who is an IRS working as the Commissioner of Income Tax for Government of India. And he is, of course, the founder president of the Dharma Bharathi Mission, which is at the forefront of ensuring that students in India get educated, especially students at the lower end of the strata of society, that they are fed with nutritious meals and they find education, which in some ways empowers even their mental health being, because we are ensuring their physical health being. So with this, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Paramjeet Singh, who will talk about Dharma Bharathi Mission and what we are doing in the mission to ensure mental health care for children and, of course, women, a very big sector of our society.
Thank you, Kavar. Good evening and a very warm welcome to all the attendees, and especially the trustees of Shri Guru Singh Sabha and IMFS, who are our co-partners today. A very warm welcome to our esteemed guests on the panel for today. We thank you all, Dr. Rajesh Nagpal, Dr. Gautam Saha, and Dr. Naresh Vadlamani, and of course, Dr. Darpan Kaur, without whose support today's program would not have been possible. It was very kind and generous of her to connect us to these respected and renowned personalities from all over the country to be a part of this discussion. Thank you all, sir, for joining us today. It is no easy task to prioritize the systems which need to be put in place as COVID-19 blazes its way across the country. And as Kavar mentioned, it is the issue of mental health that slips through the cracks. We focus on financial distress, loss of jobs, anxiety, and fear of corona, social stigma, etc. But what we fail to realize is that it is the mental strength which will help us through and survive and overcome all of this. And not just the physical immunity boosters like warm water, kavas, etc. Both have to go hand in hand. Just adding to what Kavar said, the National Health Survey 2015-16 found that 1 in every 20 Indians suffer from some sort of depression. So we need to strengthen the mental health care ecosystem in this country and realize its importance. Dharma Bharathi Mission, along with the like-minded organizations, has been organizing webinars like these of public importance and which affect the well-being of all. Today's webinar is a step in that direction, and we are hopeful and very sure that today's, after hearing these esteemed speakers, we all will be immensely benefited. But before we start, I'd like just to briefly introduce Dharma Bharathi Mission and what we do there. Please allow me to share my screen.
National Highway 334 for 9 kilometers.
Dharma Bharathi Mission is working towards the goal of hunger-free India through multi-level interventions. We follow the principle of 3E, that is education, empowerment, and employment. And we feel that once we educate and empower and employ people, people can move out of hunger forever. Incidentally, in 2020, we completed 20 years of Dharma Bharathi Mission. So it's been a remarkable journey for all of us who are associated with DBM. And this is just the snapshot of what we do. In our educational initiatives, we help around 7,500 plus children every year through our various interventions. One of these is, of course, the midday meal scheme, where we are feeding around 2,000 kids every day. And till today, we have fed around 4.5 lakh meals. 12 years. Similarly, we have a study center, which we have opened with the help of Tata Institute of Social Sciences and which caters to the higher education for the underprivileged children. It provides them support from any subject or any competitive exam that they give. Similarly, we do whatever school we adopt, we teach the teachers, we train them, the principals, and of course, we give scholarships to needy and meritorious students. And similarly, on vocational training, we are training around 2,000 youth every year. And we have tied up with leading companies like NIIT and Cisco to give those courses to the underprivileged children at a fraction of cost which is available in the market. So, we try to give the same access to them as the rich people get. And of course, all this is coupled with career counseling, mentoring, life skills, and soft skills. And we have a huge volunteer base of around 225 to 250 people who come and work with us and are part of the journey. And we're very happy to announce that this is the small list of awards that we're winning every year. And especially the Guide Star India Transparency Certification, which is the highest certification given to any NGO in India. And we've been winning for the last in a row. So this is also a brief snapshot of what we are doing. This is our philosophy. We believe that all of us, if we want to improve the society, we have to follow this of begin with self, begin small, and begin today. We cannot wait for bigger things to happen. And today, COVID has also shown that all of us, whatever we can do, we have to keep on doing. Small steps add to greater glory. Thank you very much. And over to you, KP now.
Thank you for that insight. So I think what came out via the presentation on DBM was how we are working at the slum level, at the very lower base level, or extremely poor strata of society to ensure that the healthcare of children is ensured, and also we're working with women at a large level too. Now, before we go ahead, of course, this webinar has been organized by Dharma Bharathi Mission, which Paramjeet Singh has already introduced to you, and it's now my pleasure to introduce you to the Shri Guru Singh Sabha, which we refer to as a Dadar Sikh Gurdwara. And this is an organization which is at the forefront of helping people during COVID-19. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Manmohan Singh Rathi, who's the secretary of the Shri Guru Singh Sabha. Mr. Rathi.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. First of all, I welcome all the esteemed speakers and doctors pan India, and I think this is one of the kind where we have been able to request, and they have agreed to a request to attend this seminar and give us a rays of hope in coming difficult times. I thank Darpan Kaur, who's fortunately my niece, and she has come forward and she has been able to bring all these panelists on this webinar. I'm really thankful to all KP Singh, Paramjeet Singh Ji, and a short 2 minutes talk about Singh Sabha. Singh Sabha, maybe many of the people who are attending here must not have heard of this word. But Shri Guru Singh Sabha is one of the oldest establishment Sikh Gurudwaras in Mumbai. We are celebrating 100 years of Singh Sabha. It was established in somewhere in 1920s, and we are into uh, more of religious sermons and religious programs. And last 20 years we have been into education and health, promotion of education and health of the lesser fortunate people of our society. And in this health, as the previous speakers have highlighted, uh, along with physical health, mental health is gaining more and more importance in our lives, and we are seeing so many suicides. For maybe from our side it is a small silly things, but the person who is undergoing all those stress, how to handle and how to cope up with all those things, our esteemed speakers are better qualified, and renowned people have come here to guide us about that. Just a few minutes I'll talk about everything in the light of Gurbani. In Gurbani we always say Nanak naam chaddi kala tere paane sarbat da pala. So the word is chaddi kala, which all the management gurus of today are talking about positive thinking. Our gurus around 550 years ago have given us the mantra of Chaddi Kala. Another mantra what all these management gurus of today's world stress upon is living in the present, which we in Punjabi call it as Pana Manna, means you agree to the will of God. So everything we have in our, not only in our Gurbani, but in all our religious texts we have. But the problem is everybody wants Bhagat Singh but in neighbor's house. तो सब यही चाहते हैं कि कोई और पढ़े और समझे और उसका लाभ हमारे को हो. ऐसा हो नहीं सकता. अगर स्वर्ग जाना है तो खुद को ही मरना होगा, खुद को ही गुरबानी का अध्ययन करना होगा, धर्म ग्रंथों का अध्ययन करना होगा. तो आज ये डिप्रेशन जो आप सब बातें कर रहे हैं, it is one of my observation is because we are drifting towards materialism, which the speakers will highlight about everything. एक गुरबानी की तुक आती है, सुखमनी साहब हमारे जो गुरबानी पढ़ने वाले हैं वो जानते हैं, निकी किरी में कर राखे बसम करे लश्कर कोट लाखे. तो इसका जो सरल अर्थ ये होता है, एक छोटी सी कीड़ी भी जो है ना, वो लाखों करोड़ों को भस्म करने की ताकत रखती है. और जैसे अभी साइंटिफिक एनालिसिस हुआ है, ये जो कोरोना वायरस है, जो जितना इसने ये तकलीफ दी हुई है सबको, इट इज ऑलमोस्ट 1 or 2 मिलीग्राम्स और 1 or 2 ग्राम्स, उससे ज्यादा नहीं है. इतने छोटी भी चीज जो है पूरे हमारी सारी समझ को उन्होंने हिला के रख दिया है. The ultimate force, guiding force is God, and we very sincerely believe in God and pray to God that God will help us and God will take us out from this difficult phase. गुरबानी में और एक तुक आती है, दुख दारू सुख रोग प्या. ये जो दुख का समा आया है हमारे सबके ऊपर, ये एक दवाई का काम करेगा अगर हम इसको सही मायने में इससे जो अनुभव और एक्सपीरियंस अपनी लाइफ में इम्प्लीमेंट कर पाएंगे, तो आगे के समय में ये जो दुख है हमारे लिए दारू का काम करेगा, दवाई का काम करेगा. इतनी बातें कह के मैं जो है अपनी बात यहाँ समाप्त करता हूँ. आई कंक्लूड हियर and over to KP sir, and I'll not take much of your time because all these dignitaries which you have able to uh, made them agree to attend this seminar and guide us. And special thanks to Darpan Kaur. Fortunately, she is our niece. And I once again thank all the panelist doctors on this webinar. And special thanks to KP Singh and Paramjit Singh ji. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.
Thank you very much, Sardar Manmohan Singh Ratiji. We are deeply obligated to you for those remarks. And I truly enjoyed the connection you brought in between Gurbani and living in the modern world. So of course, Sarbat Bala, and that's the reason why this webinar has been organized. Before we get on to the main session today, again, it's very pertinent to note that the survey that Paramjit Singh quoted, that very same survey also said that roughly 85 to 90% of all patients are just not treated because the seriousness which this disease should be given, the mental disorder should be given, is just not allocated that kind of respect. And as a result of that, for almost 10,000 people, India has got only 0.3 psychiatrists and 0.5 psychologists. And that is one of the prime reasons why we are seeing so much of India being depressed, or so many people being depressed. With that, I would now like to introduce you to the panel today. We are very glad that we have Dr. Darpan Kaur with us, who is a founder and the consulting psychiatrist at the Sadhguru Mind Care in Mumbai. She is, of course, a visiting consulting psychiatrist at the Apollo Hospital as well, and that's in Navi Mumbai. And she is the national convener of IPS, and the short form. The full form is the Indian Psychiatric Society. It's a task force that she heads or works with on technology and psychiatry, and the web committee convener of the Indian Association of Private Psychiatry. We would like to now move the mic and the mantle back to you, Dr. Darpan Kaur, and let us hear your views on how to battle the mental depression that Indians seem to be affected so very much, especially after COVID-19.
Yeah, you can start, Darpan Kaur.
Yes, I'm just sharing the screen. Are the slides visible?
Yes, they are.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's very wonderful that the Guru Singh Sabha and the Dharma Bharathi Mission have taken this organizing of this national webinar on mental well-being during COVID-19 times. And first I shall begin my presentation, and towards the end I shall make some concluding personal comments. So we are living in COVID-19 times. No one saw it coming. The pandemic was sudden. There have been a lot of lockdowns and restrictions. There is an environment of uncertainty and fear, along with distress and loss. The CDC guidelines from the US say that this pandemic has been stressful for everyone. Everyone has been coping and reacting differently. It's touched each and everybody, and fear and anxiety over one's own health as well as the health of others. And there's been death around. Some people have lost their relatives, and lots of people around have been coping very poorly to the pandemic. The World Health Organization states that when we're faced with uncertainty or the unknown, fear, worry, and stress response to perceived or real threats can happen. Adding to this, there is this fear of contracting the virus in this pandemic, and this has led to significant changes in our daily lives. The United Nations has come up with their report that there is a mental health crisis looming large. Millions of people worldwide have been surrounded by death and disease. There's been isolation, there's been loss of jobs, there's poverty, there's anxiety, which has been associated with the pandemic. COVID-19 could trigger in a huge global mental health crisis. Some of the psychosocial factors affecting mental health during COVID-19, lives have been lost. There is an economic turmoil happening globally. There's fear and risk of losing and exposing young ones and loved ones to life of loss. There's some uncertainty. Sometimes there's an environment of misinformation, and also fear and isolation, which is covered, which has been in the environment for a lot of people. There are emerging studies over psychiatric and psychological problems on the WHO report on mental health and COVID-19. They have found globally that there are increased cases of depression and anxiety, domestic violence is rising, children's mental health globally has been affected, and even frontline workers and essential service workers are reporting increased distress levels and increased need for mental health support. Some of the mental health symptoms that can be associated with COVID-19, which have been highlighted in the WHO report on COVID-19 and mental health, people can experience panic, restlessness, insomnia, that is difficulty in falling asleep, irritability, getting angry, impulsivity, a sudden panic response to the situation, a feeling of numbness, sometimes a feeling of loneliness, increased thoughts, and people express sometimes that they're not able to fall asleep. Whenever they're sleeping, their mind is continuously thinking and worrying. Some people are experiencing sadness, low mood and depression, and some people are even having nightmares and poor sleep quality. Coming to this pandemic has affected each and every one in their own way. Now, if you look at children, children's mental health has been at an extreme risk during the pandemic. Young children are having vulnerable minds. They've been asked to be at home. There's no school. They're not able to go out and play. They're not able to meet their friends. Some of them are really scared because they don't understand what the COVID is, what the COVID pandemic is. At the same time, there has been a need from the school systems to start online classes and lectures, and everyone is coping differently on how to, balance their children's education via the online forums, because this is something which is very new, and technology has been making ways for education, but looking at very, very young children also having to, take up online classes. These are something which is new, and we know that even children sometimes are expressing fears and anxiety that when would their schools open and when would situation normalize. Looking at students who, young adolescents, and students who are going for colleges, pursuing courses, there's been a whole semester that academics has been lost in the college environment. There are also some students who would have been in their final semesters, and there are uncertainties about their examinations, and some examinations, some universities have recommended online assessments, whereas for some universities, there are lots of revisions and changes that are happening. This is bringing some level of uncertainty even for students' mental health. More than that, they're missing their school and college life and all the good things that they shared with their friends, teachers, etc. Coming to another very important aspect of women's mental health. Now, there are some section of women across the country who are working women, and they have to now work online and work from home. But at the same time, there is no respite from home course. They have to manage their home course as well as do online work. And then there are also some women who are doctors or essential workers who need to actually go for work, report for duty. And there are nurses and, workers working in the government, where women are also experiencing fear and anxiety. Some of it is related to the adequate safety precautions. And the women who are at home, even they are under tremendous stress because there is no outing, there is a lot of misinformation, there is no leisure activity available outside. At the same time, there's a strenuous home job, planning of groceries, hectic chores, and a lack of domestic help for so many women who have not for many years been a part of domestic chores, and there have always been domestic helps to help them out. Coming to looking at men's mental health. Now, this pandemic, many of men are at home, and the ones who have jobs are definitely doing more of online work, but there is a significant financial burden on so many men around. Shops have been closed, businesses are at loss, and even if they wish to restart, there's a lack of labor force. There is fear and anxiety around, and more so people are also concerned regarding systems and ability to have safety concerns at workplace, and some of them are on home loans or shop loans, EMIs, rentals. There's definitely a lot of even financial burden which is linking to men's mental health. Coming to mental health and the elderly are one of the most vulnerable populations, and taking care of them is very important because they are at a high risk of catching the infection, and the chance of mortality increases more in the elderly. So most of them are at home, or some of them are having panic attacks, some of them are really worried, and they don't know whether it's okay for them to go out, especially people who are 65, 70, 80, and they do have a lot of medical comorbidities such as diabetes, hypertension, cardiac ailments, respiratory problems, all of this add on to their risk, and definitely their medical conditions as well as being at home is definitely affecting their mental health in its own way. Coming to all the essential workers and their mental health, so you know that they are doing their duty, they are risking their lives, they're going out doing their job. Some of them are doing it as their duty, as an obligation to society. Some of them are doing it because it's their job, they need the money. And the whole force of these essential workers who have been at the front line have dedicated their lives. So they have been in so much stress during the pandemic that we are even part of conducting workshops for so many doctors, nurses, and people who are essential workers, because even they are under stress throughout the pandemic when they have to go for work and come home. And police and security personnel, BMC staff, government and essential workers, even people involved in transportation, banks, petrol pumps, supply chains, essential businesses, and even the small vegetable vendors, delivery boys, bus conductors, many more people who have been involved in this pandemic who come out. They've also been under a lot of stress and are coping in their own way, doing their duty. And my salutations to each and every of the essential frontline worker. Now that I've primed you towards the mental health aspects related to COVID-19 pandemic, I shall begin with giving you some simple tips for coping with stress. So during this time, it is absolutely normal for people to feel sad, stressed, confused, angry. Talking to people you trust can be of help. Maintain good social online contact with friends and family. Maintain a healthy lifestyle, including a proper diet, good sleep, basic exercise, and lots of social connectedness with loved ones. Another very useful tips for coping with stress highlighted on the WHO website is to get the facts right. So a lot of people gather a lot of misinformation online, or they see something which they perceive it as very frightening, and because of that there's a lot of anxiety and panic response that can happen in the brain. So if one is aware of the facts, one takes reasonable precautions such as wearing a mask, washing hands repeatedly, using of hand sanitizer, and as well as finding a credible source such as the government and ministry website, WHO website, or any state public health agency which can highlight the facts correctly. And once we're aware of facts, definitely the stress response comes down. Another tip for coping with stress, as suggested by WHO, is lessen the time you and your family spend watching or listening to upsetting sensational coverage day in and day out about the pandemic. So if you keep on viewing a lot of negative or sensational things, watching news all the time, and not things that you may perceive as very upsetting, then definitely that would have an impact on your brain and will affect the neurochemistry of your brain day in and day out. So it's very important that you have a balanced view towards looking at information towards the pandemic. And also it's important that you may have in the past in your life faced some challenging moments and difficult life adversities. So it's good to reflect on that what skills at that time helped you to cope, and see if how you can employ those skills which you already have to deal with this stress. Mental health at home, it's important to be informed. It's very important to keep a fixed routine. So just as you wake up at a particular time and go to sleep at a particular time, it's important to kind of maintain a routine, have a schedule in place, mark down activities that you would do at home, tick them off at the end of the day, maintain a good diary, and feel good that, okay, although you are at home, but you are doing things on a regular basis. Do not go in for erratic sleep times, and minimize your online news feeds and screenings and reading about again and again about COVID pandemic. There is caution on the WHO website on use of alcohol and drug use during this time. So try to limit it, because it will increase your vulnerability towards COVID, and as well as do not get really addicted to your online devices, your mobile, your screens, monitor your screen time. So it's very important that you stay socially connected to everyone, but do not get too dependent that day in and day out, you are only with your mobile. Use video games. WHO recommends that online games can help you relax. Good social media networking websites where you can connect with others, share your thoughts, call your old school friends, call your college friends, have video calls, have online chats. It's all is recommended. So it's recommended as keeping a safe distance, but one has to be socially connected. At the same time, even WHO recommends that time for humanity to shine out and be there to help others, support health workers, support families who are suffering. Do not discriminate to anyone during this time. Some of the other tips for coping with stress is take breaks from watching, reading, or listening to news stories, including social media. Hearing about the pandemic repeatedly can be upsetting, as per the CDC, Atlanta, United States of America. Take care of your body. Try to eat healthy, well-balanced meals, exercise regularly, and get plenty of sleep. Connect with others, support your loved ones. Physical distance, yes, but social connectedness is more important, and reduce social isolation. Coming to my last 4 slides about positive mental health, as my uncle, Mr. Manmohan Singh, has touched upon some aspects of spirituality and Chardi Kala, which is a sense of spirit to have good resilience and be positive during difficult times. This is also within the domain of positive mental health, where one does recommend to think positive, look at the power of prayer and medication, have good knowledge about safety and precautions, and use social media proactively. I'm sure the next speakers who will be talking about the power of positivity, Dr. Gautam Saha will be touching about positive mental health in a lot more detail. Practice relaxation, deep breathing, read some positive and inspiring stories, read some good books, listen to soothing music. You may practice some dance or hobbies or creativity. Be connected with your family and friends. Coming to, again, this take one day at a time. I think my uncle also mentioned about being in the moment. So it's about looking at today, now, not worrying about tomorrow, not worrying about next week, next month. It's living each day, taking one day at a time. Another important positive mental health tip is to be, we are in it together. So if a person thinks, no, only I am suffering or only I have a problem, he tends to feel more stigmatized and lonely. But we think that everyone is facing this problem together and each one reach out and help each other, definitely it adds on to a collective positivity. Some of the other tips being that it could have been worst. I'm not, really that great, but I'm not that bad as well. So it's like a power of okay, and I'm definitely quite stronger than I look. And this sort of cognitive commands that you give to yourself, that this too shall pass, it's just like a matter of giving this pandemic some more time. Now, moving to my last 2 slides, which is that screening yourself for mental health with simple questions. So it's very important. Like when we even caring for patients who are in COVID isolations, now it's recommended that you also need to know how are you feeling today. And if you are at home and you have to ask yourself, do you feel excessively stressed? Are you worrying too much? Is your sleep and appetite all right? Do you feel depressed? Are you feeling lonely and helpless? And if your answers are yes, it is very important that you have to give your mental health a priority. So the government has come out with telemedicine guidelines, which has permitted telepsychiatry and online consultations for this COVID-19 pandemic. So if you are facing a lot of mental health distress, it is advisable to take consultation with a psychiatrist or an allied mental health professional. It's important to seek help, but it's also important to seek the right expert's help. And the telemedicine guidelines allow psychiatrists now to do telepsychiatry and online consultations. The psychiatrist, if you're not able to go visit them, you can request an online consultation. You can be given online prescriptions for psychiatric medications. You can sign up for online counselings, online psychotherapy, and these are all within the private and the government domain. And the government has also launched some psychosocial helplines, and even the Indian Psychiatric Society has launched a mental health helpline. These helplines are free. You may call them and you can, seek free guidance about how to take care of your mental health during the pandemic. And coming finally to my last slide, so these online consultations is definitely an option. A lot of people have been calling, and so many helplines and doctors have received a lot of requests. But my one point you should remember is that there are some limitations to online consultations, and online consultation is not advisable when there is an emergency situation. So if there is an emergency mental health situation, it is advisable to make it a priority, and please visit any appropriate hospital or clinics in person where emergency mental health care can be provided. Thank you. With this, I come to an end to my presentation, and I am very grateful to the Dharma Bharathi Mission and Guru Singh Sabha. And I'm very grateful to my uncle, Mr. Manmohan Singh, who is the secretary of Guru Singh Sabha. He had a talk with me last week, and he also felt that mental health should be taken up, and there are so many people who are suffering, and even he has come across many people who have come to Guru Singh Sabha and they're under a lot of distress, and so it was his idea basically to conduct a webinar with the Guru Singh Sabha on mental health. And then he put me across to Mr. Paramjeet Singh, who is the president of the Dharma Bharathi Mission and with the Income Tax Department, Government of India. And I shared these topics and ideas, and he was very supportive, and he was there to give directions on how should this national webinar take place. And I'm very grateful to him as well for his tips and help. And finally, I'd like to thank my colleagues who are very senior and renowned expert psychiatrists, Dr. Rajesh Nagpal sir, Dr. Gautam Saha sir, Dr. Lakshmi Naresh Vadlamani sir, and I'm very grateful that they have agreed to be a part of this webinar. And I shall now pass on to the next speaker, Dr. Gautam Saha sir, who can continue with my presentation and speak about the power of positivity, and post that we will have the next two speakers speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that insightful presentation and for your tips. And you're so right when you say that one should go to the right doctor for the right kind of problem. So you should not have haldi wala doodh and go to sleep, but go to a psychiatrist if you have got an issue of mental disorder. Keeping that in mind, our next speaker is Dr. Rajesh Nagpal, a very renowned speaker and a trained neuropsychiatrist and a psychotherapist. He has over 32 years of experience in the field, and as a distinguished speaker at national and international seminars, he prides on keeping himself up to date with the current trends and the situation dealing with mental health and mental disorder. He is the chairperson of the World Psychiatric Association section on developing countries, and has served as the past president of the Indian Association of Private Psychiatry and the Indian Association of Biological Psychiatry. With this introduction, I pass the mantle on and invite Dr. Nagpal to address our audience. Thank you very much.
Shri, everybody. It's a privilege and a matter of pride for us in psychiatric domain to be cognizant of the fact that many among you are very aware of the mental health pandemic which is in the offing. You all have come up with startling statistics, and let me add just two more to it. The point prevalence of mental illness in India was 7%, and by rough estimates, based on surveys and data available by case control studies, it is 30% right now. we are in the eye of the storm. More importantly, as Mr. Kanwar Singh mentioned, we are losing our young children to suicide. So these are tough times, and I present to you perspectives from both the Guru Granth Sahib and from psychiatry on how do we all deal with these tough times. We're all familiar with the adage of when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But actually, we are a mixture of some tough, less tough, and more tough. So what is our best selves? Our best selves are when we know it, when we have it. We operate at a high level of energy. We are actively engaged with whatever we are doing. We are open to and feel warmth and compassion towards others. And we are creative. The missions that this organization Aegis is all about their best selves. Today, when the world is suffering, there are langars, midday meals being distributed, people being empowered, and that is our best selves. And how do we reach that? So our ability to be tough in these tough times is influenced by three distinctive domains. One is the daily and often cumulative stress of our work, deadlines, targets, domestic issues, financial issues. Second is a force of significant external events. As what Darpan Kaur said, the COVID came like a bolt out of the blue. And today, whether it is Warren Buffett, Amitabh Bachchan, or Sachin Tendulkar, everybody talks about, just give me the ability to just get through this day or this year. And the third domain is the personal stockpile of genetics, the familial psychological legacy of our families, of our gotras, and training, all of which have molded us into unique individuals with varying skills for successful adaptation and resilience. As Dr. Darpan Kaur said, resilience is our ability, innate ability to handle tough times. So I will be focusing on resilience. And what is the goals? What are the goals of building up personal resilience? The goal is to improve one's physical and mental health, become emotionally flexible, and be able to self-regulate, positively strengthen one's internal relationship to themselves and the outside world. So that is the goal of building up my own resilience bank account, my own ability to build up stress, to fight against stress. So very simple key foundations of personal resilience. And all this is based on pure science, lab studies, human studies, several habits. Practice them, do riyaz, and you build up your personal resilience. Sleep, exercise, meditation, gratitude, self-compassion, and connection. All of these have been alluded to by all the introducers, including Mr. Rathi and of course Darpan Kaur. I'll elaborate on each one of them in some detail. Lot of interesting data about sleep. As kids, we learned early to sleep and early to bed and early to rise makes us healthy and wise. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. Well, actually, good sleep hygiene conclusively enhances our productivity in our personal sphere, in the economic sphere, in the world outside. These increases in productivity dwarf the increased sense of accomplishing more by sacrificing sleep for work. And this is important because globally today, we are sleeping less because we have lots of work to do. And today we have studies from Spain, from Germany. People are advocating a 4-day week. We are advocating sleep. We are saying that you'll become much more productive by taking 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And you can utilize the rest of the time by being more productive and therefore you don't need to sacrifice your sleep to do more work. So we in India today, whether I'm in the IT in Gurgaon or in Bangalore, need to take a close call on my sleep portion. So data is simply suggesting, forget what Jawaharlal Nehru told us, make a personal commitment to sleep 7 to 9 hours per night. It is a critical number that virtually all humans require. Outliers always remain, but most of us would require 7 to 9 hours sleep, and this is non-negotiable. There's lots of interesting data. This is not the forum, not the time to discuss it, but this is backed by pure science. You might scoff at me, but regular aerobic exercises has been shown to increase the size of the hypothalamus, has been known to increase certain specific brain chemicals, 30 to 40% reduction in risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, which is that dementia which occurs after 65 years, with the risk of decreasing more with increased fitness. So the more active I am, the more I do physical exercise, the less chances of my getting dementia. Significant protection against a normal cognitive decline seen with aging. This is not just in sportsmen, but it has been done in normal people who take the regular quota exercises, improve memory, learning, motor skills, executive function, all of which make us productive, active human beings. Each acute bout of exercise also causes significant improvement in cognitive tasks. Cognitive tasks would mean things like reading, writing, understanding, working memory, enhanced mood state, and decreased stress level with effects lasting up 24 hours. The data suggests that 40 minutes of aerobic exercises, which could be a walk, a brisk walk, cycling, running, swimming, paddling, lots or dancing, 40 minutes is imperative. As we grow older, like I'm 60 and Ms. Rathi is 65, we require to do some weight training also to build up our muscles. But regular aerobic exercises directly correlated with resilience and our capacity to build stress, to actually face stress. Meditation and mindfulness. We are all familiar with this term today. Everybody talks of meditation. So it's all self-explanatory. The Google answer is all about this. But all of us have inner voice in us that keeps troubling us, things to be done, the to-do lists, targets to be met, things happened to us in the past. The voices in the head which are like mania, which keep crowding us from room to room, house to house, they keep pursuing us of things to be done, what's happened in the past, what happened in the future. Meditation is the workout that helps to loosen this mental knot, providing freedom from the suffering-generated voices in the head and give you peace of mind. Meditation, as Dalai Lama said, can be a life-changing path. And there are various kinds of meditations, none of which is not one against the other. It's not like Vipassana against the Sudarshan Kriya kind or against the Brahma Kumari variety. It's not that. Basically, three broad types: breathing and body scan, loving kindness, and observing thoughts. We can fit in all the various patterns into these three categories, but more of it at some other time. But scientifically speaking, meditation and mindfulness is extremely useful. Gratitude is what the WhatsApp is all about today, Shukr. And I'll just quote Brent Brown, who defines it so well, that what separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. Being aware that somewhere somebody has blessed you and what you have is not an entitlement, it's something which you should be grateful for. Self-compassion. We are all very hard on ourselves as entrepreneurs, as IRS officers, as doctors, as postmen, as businessmen. The practice of self-compassion involves three distinct internal operations that can be developed into a habit. Self-compassion is being compassionate about ourselves. It's different from empathy. It means that we don't be hard on ourselves all the time. We don't do drive ourselves all the time. It comprises of mindfulness, a common humanity. We are all part of the long chain of humans, existed before and after, and a genuine desire, like with the Sabha and this famous organization doing, a genuine desire to help and care for ourselves. Self-compassion is very important. Taking care of ourselves is very important in resilience. And connection. Connection is all about joining the dots. And Jordan Peterson. So what Darpan talked to you about connection would mean picking up phone and talking to my friends, picking up phone and talking to my relatives. So connection about people. And I quote from Jordan Peterson: people organize their brains with conversation. We all require stories. And without stories, we are not human beings. If they don't converse, if they don't have anyone to tell their story to, they lose their mind. Like hoarders, they cannot unclutter themselves. The input of the community is required for the integrity of the individual psyche. To put it another way, it takes a village to organize a mind, unquote. We all need to connect. We all need to reach out. And through these connections, we build up our resilience. In the olden days, in the village in Haryana, sit in the chopal and what we speak in Punjabi like jabliya marna, or the lady in the afternoon sitting in the service lane on a charpai and darning and talking about her in-laws, her children, her husband, etc. By science today is proven to be therapeutic and improves resilience. So gappe marna or jabliya marna is actually a tool today to improve resilience. Now I bring you to a very curious coincidence. New discoveries, which I've just mentioned about in this year on resilience, and we now have a concept resilience bank account, and the celebration of 550, and of course last year celebrated, but this year we celebrated the 551 years of the birth of the enlightened master Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And I have been specially inspired by this special video of the Guru Granth Sahib and how Guru Nanak Ji conceived the idea of resilience 550 years ago or 500 years ago. And I'll show you some quotes and you can see some uncanny similarities here. Each moment is precious. He talks about mindfulness. He talks about utilizing this moment for a greater good for oneself and for others. Life is an opportunity. So all the positivity that Darpan Ko talked to you about is about using every moment of this life as an opportunity to improve ourselves and improve the world we live in, and to give empathy and support our fellow men and our fellow sisters. So life is an opportunity. He also said, acceptance is the key to happiness. So being contented, being grateful for what we have, and accepting things the way they are, living in the moment, is the key to happiness. He conceived this idea 500 years ago, and we are today rediscovering it. I mentioned rediscover because discover means to remove the cover, and we are again rediscovering it. Choose your companions wisely. Darpan talked about mixing with the right kind of people. I talked about connections. So choosing our connections, because they and the mentoring which follows is what will help us a great deal in establishing ourselves as good and decent human beings. Judge yourself before judging others. So look onto us first. First ask, am I doing the right thing? Am I being correct? And then go on to judge others. And last, the very unity of life, the very unity of all of us, the distinctions of caste, of creed, of gender, of age, economic disparity, simply fall away. In this COVID-19 pandemic, throughout the world, you have organized langars, you have given food, you have given clothing, you have given succor, you have given help, because you believe, and we see that today, you believe we are all one, and we're all working for a common unity of purpose. So my submission is that what the great master conceived 500 years ago, we in science are discovering it today. And of course, we are eternally grateful. Last, I talked something about COVID-19 and about immunity. Not just Baba Ramdev, but almost everybody is talking about immunity today. And our future is our immunity. And there's one interesting concept which has come up is oxygen radical absorbance capacity. If you go to UK, at least among the Britishers, we know that they used to eat very bland food until they invaded us and the East India Company came and began using spices. So the higher oxygen radical absorbance capacity called ORAC, the better will be the oxygen carrying capacity of blood and lung oxygen capacity forward. Oxygen carrying capacity of blood can be enhanced by using natural fruits, herbs, vegetables and spices. So the tulsi, the ginger, the pepper, the turmeric, the cinnamon, the clove, the ashwagandha, the brahmi, all the stuff that we have around the Bombay beaches, the green juices, all have a very high ORAC. 80% of us who suffer COVID positive have no symptoms, and that leaves us in uncertainty. Because we don't know what has happened or not, until we do zero testing. And testing 130 crore population is impossible. Even if we test 1 lakh per day, we require 35 years. Our future is our immunity. Just like Intel inside computers, we have inbuilt immunity inside. So my submission, my dear friends, is to build up a good immunity, we require a good resilience. And to build up a good immunity, we require the good food. For building up resilience, we combine what science teaches us and what the great enlightened master taught us. I thank you very much for a very patient hearing.
I think that was an exceptional presentation, Dr. Nagpal, and we know you're on your way from Haridwar to Delhi. So it was all the more impressive because we know you're traveling in a car. God bless you, sir, and may your kind grow and may your ilk also prosper. This again was a philosophy expounded by Guru Nanak when he visited a village where people were doing good things. He told them that may you be dispelled from your villages, and so that you can spread goodness of your kind across the world. So those words come to my mind when I listen to your talk. May your kind be dispersed all over the world. Thank you very much for your presentation. Our next presenter for the evening is Dr. Gautam Saha, who's an MD in psychiatry. Dr. Saha is an acknowledged expert in the field of treatment of mental disorders. He is the Vice President-elect of the Indian Psychiatric Association and is also serving as the editor of the Indian Association of, I beg your pardon, of the Indian Association of Private Psychiatry. He is a life member of the American Psychiatry Association and the Indian Medical Association and the St. John's Ambulance. Dr. Saha enjoys an amazing and exceptional working life. He has a very wide and varied experience and is an authority in the remedy of mental disease. His research papers are very well received and are sought after, and he's a very sought after person in various international seminars in America, Europe, Australia, Japan, and Sri Lanka. With this, sir, we submit to you, and we are keen to listen to your words of wisdom. Dr. Gautam Saha.
Thank you, sir, for your kind introduction. At the outset, I must convey my heartfelt thanks to Dharma Bharathi Mission and also Sri Guru Singh Sabha for organizing such an excellent webinar. And I must thanks to Mr. KP Singh, Mr. Paranjit Singh, and Mr. Manmohan Singh Reddy, uncle of our Dr. Darpan Kaur, and my co-speakers, Darpan, Dr. Rajesh, and Dr. Naresh. What I'm telling, you know that after an excellent presentation of Rajesh, Dr. Rajesh, what I want to tell, initially I'll talk on power of positivity, but initially I want to give some idea regarding the COVID-19, because we are very much panicky about this, maybe much more panicky than actual. If you go to the history of COVID-19, you can see that in 2002, there is an infection which is called SARS, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, whose mortality rate was 10% only. And after that, in 2012, there are same type of infection which is called Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. The mortality rate was 34%, very high. And if you consider COVID-19, now what we are talking about, the mortality rate is 2 to 4% only. Then why you are so panicky? Maybe the infectivity is much more. Whenever SARS and MERS almost infected only 27 to 30 countries, and COVID-19 is infecting almost around 218 and more. So in 12 March 2020, it was declared as pandemic by the Director General of WHO, Dr. Tedros. Now I'm coming to my topic. Because you know that COVID-19 is not related to only the physical illness, as Dr. Darpan Kaur and Dr. Rajesh Nakbal said. There are lots of mental issues associated with it. So you have to encounter what are the mental issues. There is a study done by Indian Psychiatric Society, where it was found that 34% of the patients in this period suffering from anxiety disorder, almost 10% from depressive disorder, and 74.1% are suffering from moderate stress. So the psychological issues are much more, and you have to take care of it. But all of this, there are lots of suggestions, already mentioned Dr. Kaur, and the positive thinking already told by Dr. Nakpal also. But I'm telling you, positive mind, power of positivity is maximum if you have personality pattern. If you thinking positively, definitely it has got an immense role. What is positive thinking? Positive thinking is an emotional and mental attitude that focuses on the good and expects result that will benefit you. It's about anticipating happiness, health, and success. Essentially, the training yourself to adopt an abundance mindset. Cultivate gratitude for your own success, those of others. So if you have a positive attitude, positive thinking, then what you think, you become. This is true. What you feel, you attract. And what you imagine, you create. So positivity is a very important part. My dear friends, be positive, because you can encounter any situation, whatever it may be, maybe the pandemic, because you know that it was shown in different studies that if you are very much positive and taking, maybe the prognosis of any physical illness also very good. There is a study in cancer patients also like this. So be positive, The positive thinker sees the invisible fields, the intangible, and achieve the impossible. Mainly three spheres you have to change, like your thinking, which may change your attitude, in turn which may change your behavior, which is most important. And this is a cycle. So positivity is very important, and for this you have to take care three part of it. Your thinking should be positive, but in turn your attitude will be definitely positive, and that will change your behavior also. Positivity is the thing which is not just you want to be positive and you become positive. There is a neurobiology behind it. If you are positive, this is a pictorial presentation of the brain. You can see what are the emotional brain, mainly the limbic system, hippocampus. This part of the middle of the brain is the what are emotion, how can we express our emotion, that is controlled by brain. And thinking also, the neocortex and the survival brain, the basic and reptilian brain, which is the midbrain and pons. And there are two important neurotransmitters in this respect. If you have a more amount of dopamine in your brain, oxytocin, you are more positive and your happiness will increase definitely. So along with, in vice versa, along with happiness and positive mentality, these neurotransmitters are always high in your brain. It is not that it is congenitally from brain. Sometimes there is a terminology which is called epigenetics. Your environment, your behavior can change your brain also. If you will be more positive, your brain also can change. What you need is express the gratitude. Repeat positive affirmations. This is very important. And challenging the negative thoughts. You should know how to counter the negative thoughts in your mind, negative situation in your life. So now I am talking about the strategies. Mainly the 5 strategies for positive thinking. How can you make yourself positive? Number 1, take control of your state. Whatever you may be, whatever you will do, it will be under your control. Your fate, your activity should not be controlled by other people. Any other people. You should not be dependent personality. Your personality should be very positive and you should control yourself. Whatever you think, honestly, you think right, you should do that only. Adjusting your mindset. Sometimes, some situation you can encounter, you have to adapt that situation. You have to think positively in that situation. There may be the negative situation. You may turn that situation to positive. Study your habits and form a new ones. Sometimes you should analyze yourself. Already Dr. Nagpal mentioned that you should understand before criticizing others what are the negative things you have. Whenever you identify, you curtail that and take some positive things. If somebody have a positive quality, you learn them, adapt them. Next is choose your words carefully. Whenever you talk to your friend, talk to your relative, talk to any other unknown person, you should be very much careful using the words. One word may affect much bitter experience than anything. So you should be cautious using the words when you are talking to your friends. Cautious means you should not use any bad words. Always be positive. Encourage people. Good morning message. It should be with love. At afternoon, it is also with love. Even good night message should be with love. Love everybody. Think positively to the world. and look to those you admire. You should follow. You should follow who are your role model. Follow them. Take their positivity. Then you also become a positive person. Already mentioned Dr. Nagpal today. Nanak, 500 years ago, whatever he thought, now we are just uttering those words. We should follow his words. We should respect that man, right? What are the benefits of positive thinking? You can ask, sir, you are telling about the positive thinking. Why should I? What are the benefits? If I don't do, so what do we lose? Number one benefit is it helps to reduce the stress and depression. Whatever Dr. Mr. KP Singh mentioned, depression is a very, very really critical disorder. It is the second burden of worldwide. So it helps to reduce the stress and depression. If you have a positive mind, you can face any mental health issues, not only stress and depression. Stronger the body immunity system. It is directly scientifically proved that if you have a positive mind, if you think the world positively, then your immune system will be very good. And which is more important in COVID-19 infection? You know that immunity is a very important part of it. If you have a good immunity, you may get infected by COVID-19, but the symptom will be mild or moderate. It helps to tackle any situation, any negative situation. Better mental health and physical outlooks, more happiness and energy. Whenever you will be positive thinker, you will get more energy. Everything will be happy. That is most important part of your life. Whatever you do in your life, only for these two things, happiness and energy. Happiness is the ultimate we want. Improve overall health and mental illness. If you are positive, it is not only take care of your mental health, it is also take care of physical health. I told you, there is a study where shows that those who have a positive thinker, those who have a positive mental health, they are in fact in the cancer patients, they recover very, very good. More optimistic and more confident. It gives you the confidence that I can do. This is very important. And it helps achieving goals, attaining success. And it is most important that if you are positive, life smiles at you always. And not only that, people will respect you. This is also very much important. Now I'm talking you know that there are so many friends of us working in different places. Right now, we also work from home. But what if you have a positive attitude, it contributes your success already. And positive attitude also build your leadership quality, which is most important in any job. Your colleagues are happy to work with. This is important. When you are in a team, you should make your colleague happy. Feel them that you are a team member. That's why they are happy. You don't have to worry about losing your job. This is important. If you are a positive thinker, you never think like that. That if you have always you have a thinking that I may lose my job, you cannot do your work properly. That's why I remember our Dada, Saurabh Ganguly, the captain of Indian team, during his period, he started, you will play next 10 matches. That I am going for batting. If I I'll be definitely get chance in the next meeting. If it is the assured, then he can play freely. His mental health will be much positive. So the chances of scoring is much higher. Make the right decision with the positive attitude. So decision taking is important and you have to take positive. It is not risk-taking behavior. But if you have a positive mind, you will take always the right decision. Find yourself empowered to talk a tough decision. Only positive thinker can do this. Motivate others to work very hard and improve interpersonal relation and develop a respectful attitude towards the others. If you are a positive thinker, you always respect others. And in turn, people also respect you. That is what happened. So those who are in workplace, maintain a positive health, and it's definitely think positively. It definitely helps you to become a very good team member, very good worker, and people will recognize you, definitely. So, you know that there are lots of failure in your life, and this from failure to success, you need, the man is jumping from here to there. He only success if he is a positive human. If the man have a positive mindset up. I am just finishing before my presentation. I am telling two stories. You know that the positive man's how they become success. Number one is Robert Bruce was a king of Scotland, and his country fell in the hands of Britishers. He wanted to free his country from the English. He was defeated many times in the battlefield. He ran away in the forest and hid himself in the cave. One day he was sitting in a pensive mood. All of the sudden his attention was attracted by a spider who was fallen from his cobweb. He decided to see that the spider would too. He wanted to know whether the spider would continue its effort or give it up. It was hanging with the thread and trying to go up. It had tried many times but failed. What Robert Bruce thought that time? That the poor spider would try no more. But what happened? It was so his surprise, the spider did not lose his heart and made 9 attempts and succeeded at last. Seeing this ray of hope shone on his face, and he thought that if the spider could reach the cobweb after many failures, why could not he achieve his goal? He gathered his army, challenged the Britishers once again, fought a decisive battle, defeated them, won the cherished freedom of his country. So see, never lose your positivity. And next one is Abraham Lincoln. I know that most of the people know this history. If you discuss anything, failure is the success. Success is the pillar of failure. Then you should mention the name of Abraham Lincoln. If you go his history, in 1832, he lost his job and also defeated for the state legislation. In 1833, he failed his business, become bankrupt. 1835, he lost his sweetheart, his wife. In 38, defeated for a speaker again. In 43, defeated for nomination for Congress. In the year 1854, again defeated for US Senate. 1856, defeated for nomination for Vice President. 1858, again defeated for US Senate. But after what? After what, in 1860, he was elected as the president of USA. So be positive. If you are a positive, you will definitely reach your goal, your target. If you are a positive enough, you will win every fight, even in this pandemic crisis also. You can win, whatever the situation is. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that message of positivity. I'm sure it will resonate with everybody listening to this talk and presentation. And it's pertinent to note that amongst our audience, of course, are homemakers and professionals, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and workers, and most importantly, students as well. So what you spoke, I'm sure, is going to be very important to everybody. Thank you for your message. And our last speaker for today is my pleasure, Dr. Naresh Vadlamani. And here is here is a doctor who's completed his MRC Psych training from Cambridge in the United Kingdom. He completed an advanced training in consultation liaison psychiatry, which basically deals with comorbid medical illnesses like cancer and heart diseases and kidney transplantations and so on and so forth. He has also led the team at Ely, which is in Cambridgeshire, the Ely Community Psychiatry Center. He is currently serving as a senior consultant psychiatrist to various hospitals in Hyderabad. So we have a panel of doctors from Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and now Hyderabad. Dr. Vadlamani's other roles include serving as the ex-president of the Hyderabad Psychiatry Association. He was the ex-general secretary and the executive council member of the Indian Psychiatric Association, the AP sector. And he's currently the chairman of the Website and Digital Services Committee of the IPS for the South Zone of India. He is also a fellow of the Indian Psychiatric Society and has published numerous research papers. He's an excellent orator and has given well-received lectures at several seminars at various conferences across the world. His special interests include suicide prevention and critical assessment of research articles. And it is your talk, sir, on suicide prevention, which will hold extreme importance today, keeping in mind the point that we raised earlier, that close to 28 students are committing suicide every day in India. Of course, the mental pressure being created on the student body. And all of these areas are of great interest to our audience, and therefore, we welcome you to address everybody and share your pearls of wisdom. Thank you so much. Dr. Naresh Vadlamani.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Right. Thank you very much. And I thank Dharma Bharathi Mission for giving me this opportunity to speak before you, the elite audience. And I would pay my respects to my seniors. Dr. Gautam Da is like an elder brother to me and is the president of incoming president of the Indian Psychiatric Society. Dr. Rajesh Nagpal is a very senior psychiatrist from Delhi. Dr. Darpan Kaur, she's more or less like a sister, and I know her for the last couple of years more earlier. And then I thank Mr. Manmohan Singh as well, Dr. KP Singh, and Dr. Paramjeet Singh as well for giving me this opportunity. And what I'm going to talk about, I think my past speakers, Dr. Darpan Kaur, Dr. Gautam Saha, Dr. Rajesh Nagpal have already spoken about it, most of it. And I know it's very easy for me to say this, so that my talk will be very less. But I'll try to make it as simple as possible. I don't want to be complicated. And this topic, like how to face I'll just share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can.
Yeah, okay. I'll try to. Okay. So my topic is how to face loss and failure, right? The topic appears very simple, and one thing is there is no one answer for it. Every one of us, since our childhood, we have been facing some loss or the failure continuously. I mean, it's not like everyone's life is a life of bed of roses. No one had a happy life. Say in our, say, 10,000 years of mankind or 20,000 years of mankind. If anyone gives me an example of one person who had a happy life, that person would be the richest person on earth. But no, every one of us faced, including our enlightened leaders, enlightened gurus, gods whom we claim as them as gods, everyone has faced some loss or failure throughout their life. And everyone's life has ups and downs. Now, according to, say, Rahe's, Holmes and Rahe's life event scale. So on a scale, what is the most, say, stressful event in a man's life or in a person's life is death of a spouse, a wife, loss of a husband, death of a close relative, brother, sister, mother, father, someone else, loss in career, job loss, financial loss in business, that is rated as the third as well, and failure in exams as the fourth, and finally loss of self-esteem, ego and confidence. So these are some events that can lead to embarrassment, this embarrassing situation. So that's what it means. So these are the 5 main life events which cause severe stress. And people think these are like losses and these are like failures in their life if they experience any one of them. Now, what are the stages? I mean, I'm going to talk about what is called as, there is a what is called an event which is a failure and a loss, and how to face that now. Suppose yesterday or today, I have some event that makes me feel, say, what is called as a failure. So what kind of stages that I undergo? So these are the common stages which we describe as shock. The first thing is I don't want to believe it. Right? My brain numb, something else has happened and it doesn't work. So that is like experiencing a shock. And then fear of certain uncertainty. What will happen now? Right? So what should I do now? So that kind of uncertainty and loss of confidence will occur. And then anger and blame. So what does it mean is I feel angry. Why did it happen to me? It could have happened to someone else. Who's that person who's doing this? Or why should I have this loss, or why should I have this failure? So those kinds of feelings keep coming to the person at that stage. And usually this stage, the stages, they last for up to 1 week or even longer. And then there is shame or embarrassment. So after a couple of days, then it strikes them that what else have they lost, including their self-esteem, including they feel embarrassed that they have lost some face in the society, or how do they face the society, or how do they face others, relatives and everyone. So that kind of, say, what is called as reaction that occurs come from inside. And finally, despair. Despair is finally dejection, giving up. I mean, a stage of helplessness, a stage of feeling depressed at that time, being sad that nothing is going to help me or no one is going to help me, and I'm a lonely person and nothing is going to help me in this whole world. So those are the stages that one undergoes when one has a failure in an exam, loss of a loved one, or business failure, or any other life event that I have explained before. Now, how do we cope, say, acutely? So yesterday or today, in the last couple of days before, something has happened. And then how do I face that? So these are the stages which I have undergone. But during those stages, if we are aware, then we can gradually cope with them. Sometimes time itself heals. That's what we keep telling people. But then everyone has to go through these phases. Now suppose, say you are going out on a motorcycle, or you're going out and then suddenly you get hurt and your leg is fractured. So the hurt is there. The leg is fractured. You are impaired. You have to suffer the pain. Yes, it will take time for it to heal. But then the suffering has to go. Everyone has to go through the process of suffering. So that's what the first stage, shock. So someone has a shock. Suppose someone hears a news of some failure or say what is called business failure, financial loss, or loss of someone, or say exam failure. Talk to someone very close. Don't hide it yourself, right? Express yourself out. So that is the first thing that you need to tell. Share it among others. Once you share it among others, you can have their opinion. You can have their thoughts. You can have their support. In fact, they will feel better that you have asked them, you have approached them as well. And that will help you as well. Now next is fear, how to overcome fear. So fear of uncertainty, like I said, fear of helplessness. So break it down into steps. What are you uncertain of? So take one day at a time or one half day at a time. And when you try to break it, the problem becomes very small. That you have to solve this small problems. If you look at a whole big problem as a whole, it appears much larger. Right. The third, anger and blame. So what are you angry at? Think about it. Think about the knowledge. What it means, suppose there's an exam failure. So why did I fail? Suppose rather than being angry at the examiner or angry at the system itself or angry at your parents that they did not allow you to read or something like that. So try to think about it. What are the questions that you have failed? Was there something else that could have been done? So probably next time my preparation will be much better in those gap areas. So then automatically the anger, the moment one thinks, the anger goes down. And think rationally, that's what it means. And then owning responsibility. This is very important, that whatever happened to you, there is no one else to be blamed about it. It has happened to you and you are a part of that. So I am responsible for my own failures. I am responsible for my own successes. So what it means is, suppose you are success, you don't say that someone else is helping you and that's why you have been success. No, you will take your own capabilities that have been successful because of my own capabilities, and that gives you a sense of achievement. The same way, when you fail, take the responsibility for it. Yes, I have failed. No one else is responsible for it. That gives a sense, gives the control, what we say, locus of control back to you. And then the shame. So focus on the self and not others. Don't think about what others think. Focus about what is happening to you and how to come out of it. So once you try to focus on yourself, everything else becomes zero. And then despair. This is most difficult. That phase everyone has to undergo. I mean, the crying will be there, depression will be there, and kind of irritation, anxiety will be there. Our self-esteem is hurt. And what we have to do at this time is just wait. Wait for the time and let the time pass. And this phase also will go. Usually I tell people, success and failures. Everyone in this world comes with a bank of successes and bank of failures, nearly equal. Now, if I ask them, what do they want? Everyone wants a bank of success, but then the bank of failures are also there. Right? So what do you want in the first 30 years of your life? First 30 years of your life, do you want successes in 30 years of your life? If people say, yes, I want to be successful by the age of I'm 30 years, but then you have exhausted all your successes bank, then all you're left is the failure bank. So what it means is after 30, your whole life will be a failure then, gradually one by one. So usually I tell people, what do you want? You want to be failure first and then have successes throughout your life? Or do you want successes first and want to have failures throughout your life? But that doesn't happen. Everyone's life is like a wave. Successes, gradually they come in, say, clumps, 2, 3 at a time. And then failures also come at a time, say 1, 2 at a time. And then again, the successes come. So what it evens out throughout life. So it's like a wave. No one has a graph which is very straight, right? Now, how do we prevent stress? Now, usually, I mean, my seniors have already spoken about various methods of what is called as preventing stress. But then stress, you are having it now. But how to prevent that stress is that the preparation of preventing stress should be from the childhood itself. Now, to prevent further prevention, that methods we can also incorporate. But as of now, how to prevent stress in our children? So suppose they have to be very resilient and strong. So what do we have to do? We have to give them a carefully manicured childhood with lots of good memories. So this is what is called as good banks. Good parenting and upbringing with lots of morals and character. So this is what is called as memory banks. So you need to have what is called as very good past memories. Only then and those memories should build up your morals and character. So that's what we need to give our children as well. We have to give them good memories. And then they'll develop what is called as good morals and character, and they'll become what is called as resilient to stress. Physical fitness since childhood. Yes, everyone neglects this since childhood, and everyone thinks that we are after 30, once we get our pouches, then we can start what is called physical fitness. No, by that time, automatically the changes have taken place in the body. So what you need to do is incorporate since childhood the physical fitness programs in the children, and that will build up their resilience to stress. Good, locally, traditionally cooked, nutritious food. India has variety. India has so many languages, so many states. The soil is different in different areas. The weather is different in different areas. So all this, what is called as made our say, a country to have different cuisines. And it's not that just for taste. It is mainly for the nutritious food that is grown from that soil. There's a new subject called as geonutrition. What it means is wherever you are locally living, the food that is grown surrounding to wherever you are living, that gives you more nutrition than from food from somewhere far else if you're imported food and all that. Because your body is made up of around 100 trillion cells. And out of 100 trillion cells, approximately 80% is bacteria, which resides in your GIT, that is the gut, right? And in the respiratory passages and on the skin as well, right? So what exactly it means is a human body is made up of 20% of cells and 80% of bacteria, right? So it means that we are a minority living in the majority bacteria body, actually. So that's what it equals. And to feed that bacteria which is there, the locally made food is made very digestible and nutritious as well, right? And then those are called food banks. So that's what I mean to say. So create all these banks of family, relatives, societal and friends. These are good social circle, and you need to maintain relationships with all of them, right? You can't be aloof, and they are your what is called as a social bank. So you have, when there is a stress, you have to what is called as withdraw what is called as from these banks, and these banks definitely will help you with your stress. Good schooling, extracurricular activities, sports, and lateral knowledge. So all this will help what is called as in building one's brain, the thinking power, the lateral thinking. So there's a what is called a problem. Automatically one thinks in say they have 100 solutions. The problem with depression or even suicide is it's not the solution people usually say. No, they don't get that solution because the pathways are blocked. The solution pathways are blocked because they can't think. So if you have all these good schooling, extracurricular sports, lateral knowledge, then what happens is more pathways in the brain are created. And then you will have more solutions to problems. Staying away from substance abuse, alcohol, tobacco, and others drugs. Yes, they decrease your immune system, they decrease your inflammatory system, and they decrease your coping abilities to stress. And that's why we need to avoid it as much as possible. Experiencing and facing failures. Since childhood, we have been experiencing and facing failures. Main thing is, like in the past, the past lecture, Dr. Gautam Sir has said, like the story of Dr. King Bruce. It doesn't matter if you fail, but what parents need to teach their children is you need to try again. And that feeling of failure, and they should not get it again. So that's what it means. So that's how adults should guide the children and not scold them or depreciate them or insult them in front of others and make them feel that they are useless. So like that, there's no comparison. Yes, everyone will fail in their childhood or in their early adult or adulthood or even in their old age. Failure is must. But then how we cope with that failure. So that's what is prevention of stress. Now support others in their negative life events. Yes, people around us, our friends, our relatives, our social circle, they also have negative events in their life. At that time, what was your role? How did you support them? So it means that you're creating what is called as an emotional bank in them. So when you have some stress, you can draw some emotional support from them. So that's what is you're making emotional banks with them. Share others' responsibilities in their crisis. So if someone, suppose your friend is in crisis, if you help him monetarily, or suppose if he comes back, it means that he owes you, or he may not owe you. That's a different issue. But main thing is when you are in crisis, he'll definitely try to help you as well. Like we said, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So like that, if you keep helping others in their crisis, automatically they will help you with in your crisis. And yes, volunteer work and charitable work. Everyone should involve in what is called charitable work since childhood. They should be taught this, and it's what is called a goodwill bank, we say. One feels good about himself that he is useful to the society. That kind of feeling makes one live even through tougher times. So that's what is called goodwill banks. Even now, part of it need not be say you need to cut off a lot of your charity and do charitable work only. No, part of it, but every day, small, that will give you the goodwill banks as well. And always have contingency plans. For everything, you just have to put a part of your savings. So what is called as financial banks. So it's not banks doesn't, this financial banks doesn't mean the banks on the street. No, the financial banks is contingency plans. So suppose you earn around say 1,000 rupees, put away 100 rupees in a safe or a safe place, and then you may think that whenever you may have time or whenever your time is bad, you can utilize that. Like an ant, the story of an ant. Ant always saves for the rainy day. That's what we say. So that is what is contingency plans mean. So these are various banks one needs to what is called as maintain or sustain to what is called as face stress or face failures. Now these are the list of positive coping behaviors for physical and mental well-being. So as of now, say what is called as prevention of stress, the stress hasn't occurred. So these are various steps that I have told you, various banks, what is called as to face the prevention of stress. And then when the stress has happened, I have explained to you about the various stages and how to cope with the various stages. Now, suppose in the future, a stress may happen. But now, from now onwards, what do you need to do? So you need to what is called as, apart from building those banks, so you need to what is called as structure your, say all these kinds of activities, like self-care, that's what we say. Means always try to get a breath of fresh air. Now, and say if you want to sleep, you can sleep under a blanket, listening to a running water at this time, or sitting outdoors by a fire pit, taking a hot shower or a warm bath. So all these are small things which what is called as sensitize your skin to what is called as soothing and have relaxation in your mind. And then practicing or paying attention to your own breath, the practicing mindfulness, like or burning a scented candle or eating something a food that smells very good, walking through a tall grass on bare feet, staring up at the sky, look at the nature, right? Have good feelings. So that's what it means. And listening to a very soothing music. So these are sensory qualities which help you to what is called as cope in a positive way. You may think that the world is positive and taking pleasure, taking yourself out to eat, right? Being a tourist in your own city. Okay, now because of COVID, you can't travel much, but then whenever the COVID situation improves, do gardening. That we can do it now, watching movies which you like, making art or doing some craft project, walking your dogs, going for a photo walk, which everyone is doing. Cleaning out junk, drawer or a closet or cleaning your room, right? So that gives what is called as, usually what happens is there's a clutter behind the head, right? I need to do, and you keep postponing, right? So that kind leaves what is called a drag behind the brain. And even if one tries to think, that occupies most of the time as well. So once we try to clear those off, say do it now. So what it means is whatever job is there, just now you do it, right? Now taking action, one small step or something you have been avoiding. So trying a hobby or learning a new language, driving to a new place or making a list, to-do list, doing crossword puzzles slowly. So that helps your mental and mastery as well. And reading something on a topic that you normally wouldn't. And socially, yes. Now, as of now, you can't meet people, but then yes, Zoom is there. Wherein, I mean, in fact, I do it every week. I have a set of, say, relatives, I have a set of friends in different arenas. So every week, I try to call them, arrange a meeting, and probably 10, 15, there are times when 50 of us, say, have meeting, a social meeting, that's what we say. And then the other aspects are physical activities. So do yoga, going for a walk or a run, They try dancing, stretching. Those are physical exercises. Going for a bike ride, ensuring you get enough sleep and taking a nap. Emotional coping skills is accept your feelings and being okay with your feelings. Write your feelings down, crying when you need to, laughing when you have occasions, and practicing self-compassion. So all these are emotional things. And finally, I mean, what I say is spiritual. Attend religious places and discourses, read poetry or inspiring quotes. That will lift your mood and make you think positively. Yes, do meditation, spending time in nature, praying, and listening to 5 things you're grateful for. So that's what it means. So these are positive coping skills everyone has. Now let us see how what is called as, suppose we are facing a business failure or a financial loss, right? So how do we cope? Practically, how do we cope? So that's what it means. So one thing is, okay, as of now, if we haven't faced a business failure, be prepared, say for the future, that every one of us, we will have problems with finances, we will have problems with the business, and we need to prepare for it. So contingency plans, like I said, have saved small things from now onwards, try to reduce the staff. That's what I did in my hospital as well. So trying to cut the costs, cutting the number of hours. So that helps to what is called as save on some finances. Yes, it is raining, it is flooding outside, there corona is there, COVID is there, we don't know how long it will last. But at least the small things that we are trying to save will help us last longer. Find out what will bring your energy back. So now you have a business failure, you have a loss, which you think that it's difficult for you to cover up, or financial things. Find out what will bring your energy back, because your energy is down now. So let me do something that will give my activity back. Do not make emotional decisions as of now, or drastic big decisions as of now. So that is very important. Whenever things have fallen down, whenever the chips are down, never take big decisions in life. That I will never work in this field again, or I will never do these things again in my life, or I won't come back to it again. Or let me separate myself from my family, or let me separate from everyone else. So these are all emotional decisions that people take. So don't take immediate decisions. Let the problem be resolved on its own, or let the time solve the problem. And then the decisions can be taken. And have a strong support network, like I said, family, friends. These are the people. So usually I give examples of people that, suppose you are admitted in a hospital with some injury. Who are the people that come to your hospital, stay in your room, and do things for you in the room, feed you, or take you to the toilet, or take you to the washroom, or say call the nurse. So those are the people whom you need to, are your strong support network, and those are the people whom you need to care for also now. Reevaluate your situation. As of now, you have suffered some loss. So how do you reevaluate your situation? So how to cut down on that losses and how to move forward. Do not take yourself seriously. So what it means is that whatever thoughts you have now, so as of now, let it rest. Right? Don't take any drastic decisions, or say which may can harm you in future as well. Dissociate yourself from a failure and a personal. Do not dwell on it. Means don't think about that failure for a long time, right? And learn from it and have. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes.
So suddenly I have doubt whether I have connection problems. Right. Okay.
Yes, you are audible very much.
Right. Okay. And the next situation, what we have is how to cope with exam failure. Let me tell you, I have failed exams, right, till my past MBBS. Yeah, when I finished till the MBBS, I did not say fail an exam. But then while writing the PG, so I did not get in my first attempt. And that was, I felt like it was like a blow to my self-ego or self-esteem, and I should have faced that failure. But then after that, I have faced failures, and those failures seem to be normal. I said, okay, why not now? Next me, let me write the exam again. So once one person has faced a failure, automatically they'll get that feeling that, okay, the next time is there, the next time is there. Right? Accepting how one feels about it. And you're not a failure, but then you have faced a failure. Means as a person, I did not fail. I failed an exam, and next time I passed it. So it means that I'm not a failure, but yes, that exam is a failure. Be constructive and learn from that experience. Everyone wants to do constructive things in life, has to fail. So that's what it means. What it means is, if you want to do something better things in life, there are times when you have to fail, right? The very first attempt, you can't make a constructive thing, which is perfect. So vent out your feeling to someone who listens sympathetically, find inspiration and support of people near you, move forward and change the current scenario. Act on a new action plan and improve your self-esteem and confidence. So all these things, they help you to cope with exam failure. And then how to cope with the death of close one. So suppose someone has died, right? So how do we close? I mean, you love them so much and they love you so much, and that feeling of missing them out lasts for 2 years. That's what we say as prolonged bereavement. They keep coming us to, I mean, we get reminding of them. Their memories last longer time, and usually the advice we get is to forget them. We need to move forward. No, we can't forget them. We love them, right? But then we need to remember good times we have spent with them, the happy moments that we have spent with them, the laughing moments, how they made us enjoy our life, or how they gave us happiness. That's what we need to remember. And then take responsibility. What does it mean is whatever they are missing, or whatever they were doing. So we need to take over that responsibilities and be there for others who are also grieving along with us. So we have to be like a strength to others rather than others being strength to us. Spirituality and philosophy, rebirths and births, and depends upon various religions, that help a lot as well in the concept of death and rebirth. And then everyone lives for a purpose. What it means is, yes, they have lived their purpose, and it is now our responsibility to fulfill a purpose in our life, and that's why we are living as well, right? And do something good in their memory, right? So whenever they have someone has died and you love them so much and you want them to live, relive, right? We need to do something good for them in their memory, and that will keep us coping with their loss, and we don't feel their loss anymore, right? And last slide, I'm coming to that. And usually what I tell people is that, what is the purpose of life? Why do we have to live? Many people keep asking me. I said that living in the moment and fulfilling our responsibilities to the best of our abilities in various spheres, family, social, societal, financial, personal, professional sphere, as per time, age and circumstances, long as possible in be the purpose of everyone's life. Then if that is, we are doing every work as a responsibility, then successes, failures, gains, losses, happiness, sadness, expectations and dissatisfaction, they all don't matter, because all of them are temporary and transient, right? So that's what it means to understand that failures doesn't matter, successes doesn't matter, but the purpose of life matters. Once we try to understand that, all these are immaterial. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think it's very pertinent to note that people know, at least most people know, how to handle successes. And it is the challenge is really to understand how to meet with failure. And that's what your talk dealt with. And we're deeply grateful to you for that talk. We have a few questions if the panelists are up to it. I know it's been 2 hours, but if you're up to it, there are around 4 to 5 questions. And with your permission, I'd like to start with the very first one. And this goes out to you, Dr. Darpan Kaur. And the question is, it deals with the COVID-19. And the question says, I have noticed that COVID-19 is somehow associated with don't go to a hospital, don't tell people we have COVID. Therefore, people are staying at home with fever and, of course, other symptoms. How do we change this mindset of not revealing that we have an illness as grave as COVID-19?
Thank you very much for the question. And I'd also like to thank you, Mr. KP Singh, that you're doing a very wonderful job and you conducted this whole webinar introducing all the speakers. And I'm sure that the moderation and question and answer will also be a very nice session. Who has asked this question? It's a very genuine. May I know if you would like to introduce the person?
It's come privately.
Okay, it's come privately, fine. So this is a very real problem that is facing society, and stigma. In psychiatry, we use the word called as stigma. Stigma is an attitude which develops within people where they associate something with fear, negativity, and we know that there are stigma towards psychiatric disorders and revealing their mental health issues, but now we're seeing the same stigma towards COVID and towards patients and families who are suffering from COVID. So there are three very important things to understand. One is that if you are hiding information about yourself or about your family, you are not only putting your own life at risk, you're also putting others at a lot of risk. So it is discouraged by the agencies. It is also under the Pandemic Act. It is legally irresponsible to not give the right information and to not report yourself or the family who has tested COVID positive, because you're putting the whole community at a tremendous risk, and the mental health and physical problems that somebody else would face because of your foolishness is something that is not acceptable. So right from the legal aspect point of view, it is illegal to hide information that anyone himself or herself or their family member is suffering from COVID, because you are putting everybody else at a significant health risk. Second is that it is understandable that the person who may be doing so is worrying about stigma or is worrying about ostra, because there are so many myths. So one of the solutions towards this problem is to improve your knowledge, to understand what are the modes of transmission of COVID. And I suggest that the Dharma Bharathi Mission and Guru Singh Sabha could also take up maybe a next panel on focused on COVID and what are the sources of transmission of COVID. What are, because we see these doctors have access to these resources on various government and ministry and medical websites, but that information has to come out right to each and every society, and each and every person should be aware about the do's and don'ts for their physical health, for society's health, as well as these illegal things such as putting others' life at risk. And as a human being, we must understand this problem is facing humanity. So not only should we think very self-centered about only our immediate family member, but we also have to think for the benefit of everyone. So wearing mask, using hand sanitizer, referring authentic websites, and following the government mandates and appropriate procedures. That is only the correct way that would be able to control the community transmission of the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope I have addressed the question adequately.
Of course, much more
Yes.
than adequate.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Saad, there is a question from Farheen who wants to know, how do we identify signs of depression or suicidal tendencies in people around us, and how can we help such people? And obviously the question is, how do we help such people as laymen?
Dr. Sai is muted.
You're on mute. Could you
Yes.
unmute yourself?
Oh, sorry. It was me. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
What happened? Identifying suicidal is very important for the family members and the people around the people who has got mental illness. Basically, first thing I should say to everyone, if anybody just sometimes tell that I am feeling like to commit suicide, don't underestimate it. The first thing, it is not because whether there is a history of mental illness or not, whatever it may be, if sometimes express their intention, you should give proper care of that, because it is sin that 50% of the patient gives some indication, maybe more than that, give some indication that they are going to suicide. The one study shows that before committing suicide, more than 50% of attended the general physician in last 1 month. And also express their intention to the patient. Sometimes we think it is a malingering, they are threatening us, but please don't underestimate this. Number one. Number two, if you see some change of behavior of this person, if the person is very much jovial, sometimes become quiet, not responding properly, sometimes he is talking something which is not very much natural, maybe his birthday is very important, you have to notice whether he is doing any indications like he is purchasing much psychoactive medications or sleeping pills, or suddenly, if you saw this, you should be aware. Definitely, these are the indications where you have to see whether the person may go to, but may commit suicide.
And sort of follow up on this, if you could speak a little bit more on an abundance mindset.
Abundance mindset.
That is right.
Actually, what happened, people, what we are doing, sometimes we are thinking of ourselves only, right? So it is very important. In fact, if you are under stress, to come out of stress, come out of depression, sometimes we are suggesting you should behave like altruistic behavior. If you do something for the society at large, if you do something for others positively, definitely it will reduce your stress and your positivity will increase. In thereafter, it will definitely not only increase your positivity in your mind, but also it will help our society at large. So your attitude should be like that. Whatever, you may be doctor, you may be doing service in a government service or doing in private job, whatever you time have, you should contribute to the society, especially in Corona period. If everybody contribute, whatever the way it may be, it definitely helps people at large.
True, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you on that one, sir. Dr. Vadlamani, if I could ask you a question that deals with how do we change our mindset to say that failure doesn't matter and things will be all okay tomorrow? How do we change our mindset?
Right. I mean, I think previously Dr. Gautam Saha have explained the functions of the brain. Right. Brain consists of neural networks. Now, like I said, you have to expand your neural networks. So expanding neural networks means you have to you have to fill them with more knowledge. So that knowledge comes from listening to elders with their experience, reading books of knowledge, which help the brain to expand to different solutions. So once you reach that stage and practice them in day-to-day life, so what it means is knowledge is one thing that helps you realize that failures don't matter, successes don't matter. You need to go to that stage. And the only thing is your responsibility. See, suppose I'm fulfilling my responsibility towards my child. I'm fulfilling my responsibility towards my parents. Do I measure that as a success or a failure? No, that's my responsibility. You don't measure them, right? So that's exactly how you want to do your profession. what is called as measure your profession by successes or failure. That profession is your responsibility. So like that, if you take that as an example in every field, that okay, this friend is my responsibility, right? You don't fail that friend or have success friend. So like that in every sphere, when you define that as this is my responsibility, your success and failures doesn't matter. Happiness doesn't matter, dissatisfaction doesn't matter at all.
Wow, that's so profound. Thank you so much. And could I follow up with another question for you? In case of people who are experiencing depression, what is more important, remedy medicine or counseling? What will be more effective and what is advised?
You want me to answer?
Yes.
All right. Now, depression, I think people have different definitions for depression. So as psychiatrists, what we say as depression is an illness. There is abnormalities in the neurochemicals of functioning in the brain, in the neural networks in the brain, there is a disease. Right, so that is what we say as depression from psychiatric point of view. But common knowledge, what people think about depression is what we say as despair. Right, how do we come out of that despair? That's what we see. Now suppose you have malaria, you don't come out of malaria, you get malaria treated.
True.
Right, but then suppose you are walking and say 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers, your legs ache. Right, you don't take treatment or you don't do knee surgeries for that, you just rest.
True.
Right. So what it means by depression is, suppose someone say hears some bad news or hears some failure. Everyone has this kind of, say, that 5 kilometer leg aches and all, everyone will have. Suppose I face a failure, if I lose someone in my family, I will be sad as well. That sadness is there for everyone. But if I have a disease of depressive illness, that hurts much more actually.
True.
And I cannot come out of that depressive illness. That requires treatment.
Correct.
Now, suppose I walk 5 kilometers, my legs ache. So resting, I do the rest. And then after 5 minutes or after half an hour, the legs go off. But suppose I have arthritis of the knees, right? And then I try to walk. Apart from the pain of walking of 5 kilometers, my knees also hurt much more. And suppose while walking 5 kilometers, suppose someone hits me on my leg or my leg gets hurt, I feel even more pain actually. Than normally when I'm walking normally, if someone hurts me, the pain is less. But now the pain will be much more. The same thing, people with depressive illness, if they face some stressful event, for them the depression becomes even worse.
So true.
Right.
Right. Thank you very much. So
so for depressive illness, we do require treatment. For depression, when you say for despair, anyone can counsel them. Anyone can talk to them. They can talk to anyone else as well. They can do all these measures. Music or listening to good things, to being positive in life. So all those things can help them for people who have depression or despair, but not with the illness.
So true. So true. So I on your behalf, I'm answering one question. This is asked by Mr. Gagandeep Singh. How should we know whether one is in tension or under stress? I think you answered that earlier. The signs are very clear. You start eating less food, you talk less to people, your behavior changes, you're buying anti-anxiety pills or drugs, your mood swings are there. So obviously those are clear signs of anxiety, stress or tension, in which case one should seek counseling or care. So I on your behalf, I'm answering, not that I'm qualified to, but on your behalf, sir. Dr. Kaur, one last question to you, ma'am. And that question is to deal with how does one identify whether one is going through anxiety or depression?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. Continuing with what Dr. Naresh has also said and linking it with these questions. See, as you know, that anxiety is a state. It can be a feeling. And anxiety disorders are a set of classified signs and symptoms which are in international classification of diseases, which psychiatrists are trained in their 3 years of training in residency or in their training programs to see patients routinely and to understand and delineate normal anxiety or a normal sad mood from the clinical condition of, say, a major depressive disorder or a generalized anxiety disorder, or the other anxiety disorders like post-traumatic stress disorder or anxious, or he's just not having a disorder but he's having an anxious avoidant personality, or his nature and personality is developed in such a way that right from childhood onwards, this person is a very anxious person. So when patients come to us with symptoms of, say, we first as psychiatrists, please note that psychiatrists are medical doctors who do their medical training in MBBS, just like your cardiologist, your physician, your surgeon. They're medical doctors. After doing rigorous MBBS training, then they qualify for residency, which are 3 years programs or higher, where they train and learn from different patients under the supervisions of their seniors in their department. They write exams and get themselves certified to be trained to treat mental health disorders. Now, along with that, you should understand that when the patient first comes to us as from psychiatric training, we listen to the patient. Once we listen to the patient, there are 2 ways of dealing with it. One is to give the patient a kind of an open expression that what is your problem? Tell me your problem. That allows the patient to elaborate more and more about their symptoms. And suppose if they present with anxiety or they present with sad mood, while we do our clinical interview and evaluate, and you may see many times in movies that psychiatrists do write something, is that they're delineating that the person or the patient who is suffering is really having the psychiatric disorder, which fits their classification of diseases. And this disorder needs appropriate risk assessment. And it needs severity assessments to know whether it's just a mild, moderate, or a severe condition. Based on the diagnosis, then we make an appropriate management plan. In case if the person has a severe disorder and is having a risk of harm to self or in harm to others, this needs a more intensive kind of psychiatric treatments and evaluations compared to someone who just has mild level of anxiety disorder or even depression, but just say moderate. So based on our guidelines and our textbooks and algorithms, we have something which is called as evidence-based medicine. So looking at that, we will do the assessments. We will advise medications to patients who really need it. Coming to the era of 1950s or 60s when there were different kind of treatments. Now a lot of treatments and medications are really very are safer, are for a specified period of duration of treatment, and along with medications there are also a lot of psychological strategies which either the psychiatrist himself, if some psychiatrists in the residency training also learn about psychotherapy. So there are different therapies like cognitive behavior therapy for anxiety, relaxation training for anxiety, CBT for depression, or just simple talking to the patient, understanding their conflicts, and then we decide if the person is having a disorder based on our assessments, which are internationally, which is an international system of classification by the WHO. We would accordingly make a management plan and recommend medications or recommend even admissions if needed, or make a recommendation for outpatient treatment. Sometimes if the psychiatrist feels that he himself is not either competent or comfortable or not from the training or does not have the time, he might also assign him to an allied mental health professional from his team, which would be a clinical psychologist, preferably someone who is a registered or a rehabilitation professional who will then together work with the patient. Sometimes we see patients who do not fulfill the disorder and just have an adjustment problem or just have a minor psychological problem. We as psychiatrists, when we see such patients, we ourselves may not recommend medication in the first place, or we might say, okay, you can make a note of some SOS medications, which you can, use it as and when you feel very anxious, or if you're not able to fall asleep. And then such patients may even benefit from some basic levels of counseling and psychological therapies. And again, there are some psychiatrists who might sometimes offer you a consult, and they might feel that no, this person is in his evaluations and report, he is not having the disorder, and they may assign you to a counselor or a psychologist. You might not even have the need to be on any medication. So this kind of a thorough assessment, the psychiatrist is qualified. So as Dr. Naresh pointed, that if if I have a knee pain, I have to go to the orthopedician. I have to get myself evaluated, that get my x-rays or get my MRI done. That does this need surgery? Should I walk while with my knee pain, or just take some rest? Or should I start myself on some medication? So like that, most of the psychiatric disorders, there are so many of them, which is having this sort of medical assessment, diagnosis, and just as once the operation is done by the orthopedician, as Dr. Naresh says, and then there will be a role for the physiotherapist to take over, there'll be a role for nurses to care during the surgery. But obviously, when I would have a knee pain, I would not like to go to anyone who would, any non-expert, person who's not trained in the orthopedics will not be able to best help me when I'm in deep pain and under an evaluation whether it needs surgery or not. So I hope I've answered the question, giving a broad view that anxiety as a symptom is different, anxiety and depression as disorders are different. There's definitely a role of medication for patients who really need it. They will benefit. There are also patients who come off medications after the prescribed period and do just fine. But depriving yourself from a consultation with a psychiatrist, depriving yourself to be on those very basic 1 or 2 medications, depriving yourself from good therapy and options just for a stigma of a psychiatric disorder is something which will not be a very mentally healthy behavior. So thank you. If the other speakers would like to join in on this very interesting comment, I would welcome their inputs as well. Dr. Lakshmi, Dr. Naresh, would you like to add on to something that I have?
No, I think
commented?
you are very comprehensive and it was very simple.
Yes.
Excellent.
Right. So I'd like to invite Manmohan Singh Rathiji from the Shri Guru Singh Sabha for his concluding remarks before we wind up the session today. Sardar Manmohan Singh Rathiji.
जी वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. First of all, I'd like to thank all the participants, all the esteemed doctors, and KP Singh ji yourself and Paramjit Singh ji. बहुत धन्यवाद and very enlightening session. But before we close, एक दो चार चीज़ें जो मेरी समझ चाहिए. It's a very thin line between science and religion. But बहुत सारे डॉक्टरों ने वो भी टच किया है सब्जेक्ट. But science and religion will go parallelly. अपने गुरबाणी चाहता है बंदे खोज दिल हर रोज ना फिर परेशानी. Introspection of oneself has to be done daily. जिस तरह बहुत सारी presentation विच आया है भी अपने आप नू खुद दा पता होंदा है भी how my day is going to start and how I am feeling today. ये जो चीज़ां हैं बहुत ज़्यादा आज दे सेमिनार विचों निकल के आईयां हैं. एक और बहुत बड़ी चीज जो सेमिनार जो मेन जो समझ आई है कि if you have a choice between being kind and being right, मेरे ख्याल से being kind should be the first choice, because being right is not always peaceful and being kind will always be peaceful. क्योंकि आप सुनते हैं कि तोल धर्म दया का पूत. धर्म जी हुई है वो स्टार्ट जो है उसकी दया तो आंदी है, काइंडनेस तो आंदी है. We should always be kind towards our colleagues, our subordinates, our seniors, everybody around us. The first basic trait of humanity is to be kind. मेरे ख्याल नाल आपां ने kindness वाले पासे जाना चाहिए है. बहुत सारियां चीज़ां जिस तरह आपां कहने कुछ सुनिए कुछ कहिए. डॉक्टर दर्पण कौर ने भी कहा है कि पहले आपां सुनन दी आदत पानी चाहिए है. We should learn to listen first. So if you listen, 50% of the problem gets solved. We should learn to listen. Going by the stories we have heard, एक story मेरे को भी हैगी है, which I'll put the title of Power of Prayer. एक बहुत एक गांव ਵਿੱਚ एक couple रहंदा ਸੀ.
अपने एक काज करून ओनाদের
Hello. Can I be heard?
Anji, of course you can.
जी 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 तो एक गांव ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ एक couple रहना सी there was a couple staying in a village so he was blessed by God and he was so blessed by God that the messenger of God came to him and he said by the way you are living the God is very happy with your style and he has offered you a scheme by rest of your life 50% of your life will be super rich and 50% of your life will be super poor. So you need to decide what do you want to be first, whether you want to live a poor life first or a rich life first. So as a normal human being like me, myself, he said, let me consult my wife. We went to his wife and asked her, okay, the God has given us a choice of being rich for half our rest of our life and being poor the rest of half our life. So what they jointly decided was it is better we start with living rich because as such we are living poor for so many years. So we start living rich. So God gave them their blessings. So from today onwards, you are super rich. You will not be short of anything. The first thing what came into the mind of that man, he ordered his wife. बोलते हैं आज जो है 2-4 लोगों का खाना नहीं बनाना है 1000 लोगों का खाना बनाओ बिकॉज वी आर सुपर रिच नाउ बस पैसे की कमी नहीं होगी हमारे पास और जितने भी लोग हैं मैं आसपास देख के आता हूँ कि कौन हमारे गांव में कोई भूखा नहीं सोना चाहिए आप खाना बनाओ मैं बंदे इकट्ठे करके लाता हूँ जैसे ही उन्होंने खाना बनाया खाना सर्व किया और जैसे ही उन्होंने प्रे किया ऑलमाइटी को भाई थैंक यू गॉड उतने में ही वो मैसेंजर वापस उसके पास आ गया बोला अभी आपकी जो है 100% लाइफ वो है जो सुपर रिच में गुजरेगी तो उन्होंने कहा ऐसा क्यों है करके बोलता है जो आपको जो पैसा हमने गॉड ने आपको दिया है आपने उसको मिस यूज नहीं किया है आपने उस गॉड के क्रिएचर की हेल्प के लिए आपने यूज किया है तो दिस इज द पावर ऑफ प्रेयर बिफोर वी कैन थिंक द गॉड विल चेंज एवरीथिंग so in this COVID times I request everybody to pray and pray the science will help the vaccines will help but the prayers will help us more and we request everybody to pray from the heart that is nanak naam chढ़दी कला तेरे पाने शरबत का भला I'll just say a few 2 lines कि मंजिलें उनको मिलती है जिनके सपनों में जान होती है और पंखों से कुछ नहीं होता हौसलों से उड़ान होती है तो हम सब ने अपने अपने हौसले बुलंद करने हैं और जो भी हमारे डॉक्टर साहब आज हमारे साथ में इस सेमिनार में जुड़े हैं मैं उनका श्री गुरु सिंह सभा से धर्म भारती मिशन से IMFS केपी सिंह की ओर से बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं और आस करता हूं आने वाले समय में एक डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर आप फिर हमारा साथ देंगे इतने शब्द कह के मैं अपने शब्द समाप्त करता हूं जी वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Kaur, Dr. Nagpal, Dr. Saha, and Dr. Vadlamani. Your talk has been extremely insightful, and this webinar was an amazing exchange of ideas and suggestions put forth by you, the leading doctors in India, and we are deeply grateful to all of you. You've taken out time from your schedules and have given us time on a Sunday, a day when you could have taken a break and rejuvenated yourselves. For this, we are especially grateful to you. With this, we wish everybody a wonderful day and hope that you stay physically very healthy and mentally very strong. Goodbye and best wishes to you from Dharma Bharathi Mission, Shri Guru Singh Sabha, and from IMFS. Thank you and have a wonderful evening ahead.